Jack was called to a major fire at a family home, and when he arrived, he was told there was a strange-looking cat inside. Without hesitation, he went in and rescued the poor animal. When he came back out, he was stunned by the cat's appearance. He immediately took it to the vet and turned pale when the vet said, "You've got a big problem." Then something unexpected happened. Not every fireman is willing to risk their life for an animal, but Jack was one of the rare few. Over the years on the squad, he'd gained a reputation for risking everything to save lives, and was usually successful in his efforts. Today, he would once again have a chance to be a hero. When he and the team got to the house fire, most of the building was already in flames. A neighbor told them the family was on vacation, but that their cat was still inside. She had been looking after it while they were gone. The odds of the animal still being alive were slim, but Jack was still willing to try. While the other firefighters worked to contain the blaze on the first floor, Jack rushed in through a newly opened path and began searching for the cat. The house was filled with smoke and fire, and with every second he didn't see the cat, his hope faded. But the neighbor had given him a helpful tip. Whenever the cat got scared, it would hide under the couch in the living room. That was Jack's best chance. He couldn't stay in the burning house much longer, so he pushed forward toward the living room, where the couch had just started to catch fire. Jack took a deep breath and, with one hard kick, toppled the couch. To his relief, a tiny, frightened cat was huddled beneath it. He didn't hesitate to scoop it up. The last thing he wanted was for it to run away. He had to get it out as fast as possible. Going back the way he came wasn't an option. The path was already swallowed by flames. He looked around and realized he'd have only one shot. Holding the kitten tightly, shielding it with his arms, he charged at the tall window and crashed through it. Thankfully, the glass gave way immediately, and Jack fell outside. He landed on his back, making sure the kitten remained safe. Another firefighter rushed over and helped Jack get clear of the flames. Meanwhile, the kitten squirmed, trying to get free. It clearly still had some fight left in it. Now that Jack was safely out, he could finally take a good look at the animal he'd just saved. He hoped it hadn't been burned or hurt too badly. But when he looked at the cat's face, he nearly dropped it in shock. He had never seen anything like it. The cat didn't look injured by the fire, though it was hard to say whether it had inhaled too much smoke. But its face looked bizarre. Was it a birth defect, or was something else going on? Fortunately, the neighbor was still there and able to answer a few questions. She was relieved the cat was safe, but she didn't have much more information about its strange appearance. She had been just as surprised by the cat's appearance as Jack when she first saw it, but hadn't really had the chance to ask any questions about it. The truth was, the neighbors had only moved into the house, now destroyed by fire, about 2 months ago, and aside from a quick wave in passing, she hadn't really talked to them during that time. The first real conversation she had with them was when they asked if she could watch their cat for the week. She had been shocked they'd ask such a favor of someone who was basically a stranger, but she loved animals and saw it as a chance to build a connection with the new neighbors. So, without even seeing the cat, she agreed to take care of it, and hadn't heard from them since. They had only been away for 3 days at that point. She had actually tried calling them twice already to ask a few questions, but neither call was answered, and she hadn't gotten a call back either. She figured the chances of them picking up now were even smaller. Still, she and Jack gave it a shot, but again, no answer. Jack was stunned by how careless the cat's owners seemed. How could anyone go 3 full days without checking in on the person caring for their pet? Things like that made his blood boil, maybe even more than the flames pouring from the house just moments ago. It didn't take long for the other firefighters to put the fire out. They had managed to stop it from spreading to any of the nearby buildings, but the house itself was a total loss. There wasn't much left to recover. The owners still needed to be informed, but as the neighbor had guessed, reaching them would likely be a challenge. At that point, though, Jack wasn't too concerned about that anymore. Honestly, his attention was now completely on the strange-looking kitten. The neighbor offered to take the cat in for now, but Jack didn't want to burden her. Besides, he was far too curious about what was really going on with the animal. To make sure the kitten was okay, Jack knew he had to get it to an emergency vet. It didn't appear to be injured, but he wanted to confirm it hadn't breathed in too much smoke, and maybe the vet could explain the kitten's odd appearance. Jack called the emergency clinic, but the response left him disappointed. They were overloaded with patients at the moment, and unless the kitten was showing urgent symptoms, it would be better to bring it in the next day. They just didn't have enough staff to help sooner. Jack didn't have many choices. There were no other emergency clinics in the area. Now he had to decide, either drop the cat off at a shelter and walk away, or take it home for the night and bring it to the vet in the morning. With no other immediate options, Jack faced a tough decision. He looked down at the tiny, unusual kitten still cradled in his arms. The idea of leaving it in a shelter didn't sit right with him. After what it had just been through, the thought of it spending the night alone was heartbreaking. With the burned house still smoldering behind him, Jack made up his mind. It wasn't the most conventional choice, but he couldn't let the kitten face an uncertain future. He would take it home and make sure it was safe and comfortable until the vet could see it. When Jack walked through the door with the mysterious little cat, he was met with an unexpected reaction from his wife, Sarah. She looked puzzled and slightly worried as she stared at the strange-looking creature in Jack's arms. Her first words came out slowly. "Jack, what on earth is that?" Jack told her about the dramatic rescue from the fire and the kitten's condition, leaving out the part about the vet's troubling remark. Sarah, though not exactly excited about the surprise guest, couldn't ignore the sympathy she felt. She sighed and agreed. "All right, just for one night, but it stays in the garage." As night fell, Jack prepared a warm little spot in the garage for the kitten. He laid out a makeshift bed, a small bowl of water, and a plate of cat food. He decided to stay nearby and keep an eye on it through the night, just to make sure it was okay. In the dimly lit space, Jack stayed awake, checking in on the kitten from time to time. He couldn't stop worrying about its health and the mystery behind its unusual look. As the hours passed, the kitten remained surprisingly calm, and Jack found himself growing attached to the odd little creature. In the quiet of midnight, Jack sat beside the kitten, who now seemed strangely relaxed around him. He noticed its unusual eyes, which glowed like rare gems in the dark. He started to wonder where this kitten had come from, and what secrets it might carry. Wanting to comfort it, Jack gently hummed a lullaby, hoping the soft sound would help it feel safe and cared for. In those quiet moments, a bond began to form between them, a silent connection shaped by all the unknowns. Jack felt his heart open with compassion for the strange little cat. As the first morning light came through the garage window, Jack checked on the kitten carefully. It had made it through the night without any issues. Relieved, Jack began getting ready for the vet visit. He cleaned up the small sleeping area, gave the kitten fresh water, and refilled its food. In the daylight, the kitten's unique features were even more striking. Its eyes shimmered with a mysterious glow that left Jack quietly amazed. It was finally time to get answers. With resolve, Jack placed the kitten in the car, ready to learn the truth behind its odd appearance. The next morning, Jack arrived at the vet clinic earlier than planned. He wanted to make sure the kitten got proper care. Still in his firefighter gear, he walked in carrying the kitten. The receptionist gave him a warm greeting, but couldn't help glancing curiously at the strange little animal. As Jack waited in the busy lobby, he noticed people sneaking peeks at the kitten. Its odd look was hard to miss. Some whispered to each other, clearly trying to guess where it came from. The buzz about the kitten quickly spread, and soon a small group had gathered to get a better look. Kids pointed with wide eyes, and adults whispered about the unusual animal. Jack started getting a flood of questions from curious strangers. They wanted to know what breed it was, what was wrong with it, and how he'd rescued it from a burning house. Jack answered as best as he could, telling them what little he knew. He didn't mention the vet's earlier warning. he didn't want to cause a stir. The clinic's vets had noticed the growing interest in the waiting room. Their curiosity was clearly piqued as they watched the kitten from across the room. It wasn't every day a cat like this showed up. They exchanged thoughtful glances, clearly thinking the animal needed a closer look. While the crowd's quiet buzz continued, Jack got some unexpected news. The receptionist told him his appointment had been moved up due to another emergency case. A wave of anxiety hit as he carried the kitten into the exam room. The sudden shift made him worry. Had the vet seen something serious? What would they find out about this strange kitten, and what would it mean for its future? Jack's fellow pet owners exchanged uneasy looks as they watched him leave the waiting room with the kitten. The air felt heavy with uncertainty as they waited, eager and anxious to learn what was happening behind the closed door. Quiet whispers filled the space, and tension seemed to settle over everyone still inside. In the examination room, Jack and the kitten were greeted by a vet whose serious expression immediately stood out. The vet's demeanor was a sharp contrast to the earlier curiosity in the waiting area. Jack felt his stomach drop as he sensed something was wrong. The room felt tense, and the strange kitten looked up at him, its eyes holding a secret yet to be revealed. The weight of the moment pressed down on Jack as he prepared himself for whatever was coming. Sitting across from him, the vet glanced briefly at the kitten before fixing his gaze on Jack. In a low, grave tone, he said, "You have a big problem." Jack's thoughts spiraled instantly. What had the vet found? What did that statement mean for the kitten's future? Jack tried to steady himself as he waited for the explanation, unsure of what was about to be uncovered or how it might change everything. The vet's words caught Jack off guard, and he stumbled over his response. "What do you mean? A big problem?" The vet remained stern as he began asking pointed questions about where the kitten came from. Jack explained the fire, the rescue, and how he'd found the animal. The questions continued, each one hinting at something deeper, something Jack still didn't fully understand. The tension in the room grew thicker, the truth hovering just out of reach, and Jack's role in it becoming more uncertain by the second. The vet carefully examined the kitten, his gloved hands moving gently over its features. His expression darkened as he spoke. This kitten wasn't just unusual, it was extremely rare. Its appearance wasn't the result of a simple birth defect, but of a deliberately engineered genetic mutation. Jack was stunned. The vet explained that these kinds of mutations were often created for profit, raising troubling questions about where the kitten had come from. That revelation led Jack to ask an important question. How could the vet know about this condition so quickly? The vet hesitated before admitting he'd seen similar cases before. Kittens with striking unnatural features. He'd believed authorities had put a stop to it, but it appeared these unethical breeders were still active. Jack's mind raced as the implications set in. Who would even own a cat like this? The vet explained that such rare animals were often targeted by illegal breeders hoping to profit from their uniqueness. Because of serious ethical and health concerns, strict rules existed, and owning such a cat without proper documentation was illegal. The vet grew more concerned as he explained that breeding animals with engineered mutations could cause severe health problems in future generations. That was why tracking the kitten's origin was so important, to stop further harm. In his opinion, the police needed to be contacted immediately to investigate the illegal breeding involved. Finally, the vet explained more about the kitten's condition itself. The striking eyes weren't just unusual, they were also a sign of possible health complications. The kitten's condition was complex and would require specialized care, making it even more important to uncover its origins and protect its well-being. Jack realized he had stumbled into something far bigger than a simple rescue. In the days that followed, news of the kitten's rare genetic mutation spread quickly. Scientists and genetic experts showed an unexpected level of interest, believing that studying the kitten's DNA could offer valuable insight into genetic mutations and possibly even lead to future medical breakthroughs. Crew the kitten quickly became the center of intense attention, sparking ethical debates about its future. As the discussions about its genetics continued, another troubling fact came to light. Some people were offering large amounts of money to buy the kitten, even if it meant breaking the laws around owning genetically modified animals. The tempting lure of profit clashed with serious ethical concerns, casting a shadow over what lay ahead for the kitten. Amid all the chaos, Jack found himself facing a painful moral dilemma. He had rescued the kitten from a deadly fire, but now its fate was uncertain. Should he keep the kitten, knowing the responsibility and risk involved? Or should he hand it over to experts who could properly care for it? The decision weighed heavily on him. Sensing Jack's struggle, the veterinary team stepped in to take control. They felt it was in the kitten's best interest to be placed in their care, away from public attention and those who might try to exploit it. Jack, though reluctant, agreed. He knew the specialists could give the kitten the treatment and safety it needed. Now that the kitten was in good hands, the focus shifted to finding its original owners. Police began an investigation to track down whoever had illegally owned, and possibly tampered with, the kitten's DNA. The search was officially underway, and authorities were determined to hold them accountable. As word spread about the kitten's rescue and the investigation, a troubling suspicion started to take shape. The timing of the fire, the rare genetics, and the illegal breeding all hinted at something more serious. Investigators began to suspect arson, that the fire might have been started to destroy evidence and cover up the illegal operation. Meanwhile, the kitten was settling into a safe new environment under the care of expert vets. Hidden from public view and safe from harm, it began a new chapter with specialized care and a chance at better health. Jack, although it had been a hard decision, knew deep down he'd done the right thing by trusting the professionals. The kitten's life had taken a dramatic turn, but it was now in a place where it could be cared for and protected from those who saw it only as a way to make money. As the kitten adapted to its new life, it was surrounded by the kind attention of the vet team. Its rare genetics made it a unique case. Scientists and researchers were eager to study its DNA and discover what secrets it might hold. This marked the start of a new chapter in the kitten's incredible journey, one full of scientific potential and a chance to help others understand genetic mutations. Back at the burned-down house, investigators were working tirelessly to uncover the truth. Clues slowly started to surface, pointing to people who had profited off the kitten's altered genetics. The pressure was mounting, and law enforcement was closing in on those behind the illegal breeding scheme. They were determined to bring those responsible to justice and send a clear warning to anyone involved in similar activities. Investigators combed through the ruins of the house, examining the ashes and what was left behind. Each new piece of evidence brought them one step closer to solving the case and revealing the full truth about the hidden operation. They were determined to bring the people responsible to justice and ensure no more animals would suffer from such illegal practices. The burned house now stood as a grim reminder of the darker side of the kitten's past, a past slowly coming to light through the hard work of investigators. As they dug deeper into the case, they began interviewing neighbors and others living near the burned home. Clues started to surface, offering a clearer picture of what happened in the days leading up to the fire. Suspicion began to focus on a few individuals who had been seen around the property shortly before the blaze. Piece by piece, the puzzle was starting to take shape, though the full story was still just out of reach. Neighbors from the quiet suburban street shared what they had noticed. Some mentioned strange activity around the house, unusual visitors coming and going. Others spoke of loud arguments coming from inside. These witness accounts gave the investigation new layers, pointing to hidden motives and deeper secrets behind the burned home. While the investigation continued, the kitten showed incredible strength. Thanks to the vet team's constant care, it kept getting better. Its unique looks and rare genetics had come to symbolize not just mystery, but also hope and resilience. The kitten's journey, from surviving a house fire to slowly healing, touched the hearts of everyone who heard about it. After a series of thorough tests and special care, the vet gave a final update on the kitten's condition. Though its genetic mutation remained a rare and defining feature, the kitten's health had greatly improved. The vet was hopeful about its future, praising the kitten's ability to overcome such a rough start. Jack's connection to the kitten grew stronger each day. Their bond went beyond the moment of rescue. It had been built on shared struggle and care. Jack found real comfort in looking after the kitten and seeing it grow stronger, even while the investigation into its past continued. One thing had become clear. Jack was fully committed to giving the kitten a safe and loving home. Jack couldn't just sit by while investigators searched for the truth behind the fire and the illegal breeding operation. He made a firm decision to support the investigation however he could. He felt a deep responsibility toward the kitten and knew that his experience, the rescue, the odd details, could be a big help in solving the case and holding the right people accountable. Working alongside the investigators, Jack helped form a plan to track down the kitten's original owners. They began following leads uncovered through interviews and evidence found at the burned property. Their shared goal was to bring those owners to justice and to expose the hidden dangers behind the breeding scheme that had nearly cost the kitten its life. As the investigation deepened, the clues began to reveal a troubling picture of a hidden, illegal operation. The burned house seemed to be just one part of a much larger scheme involving unlawful genetic experiments on animals. Authorities believed the people behind it were motivated by greed, with no regard for ethics and a willingness to exploit helpless animals for profit, no matter the cost. Law enforcement agencies dug deeper into the illegal breeding network, carefully examining records and following leads that pointed toward secretive individuals working at the edges of the pet industry. The full scope of the operation and the cruel treatment of animals it involved was deeply disturbing. It only increased the urgency to expose the people responsible and bring justice for the suffering they caused. As the case unfolded, investigators and police were slowly closing in on the truth behind the kitten's strange genetic mutation, its unlawful breeding, and the motives of those responsible. The coming revelations wouldn't just lead to justice, they would also shine a light on the ethical questions tied to genetic experiments on animals. It was the start of a much-needed conversation about animal welfare in a dangerous, loosely regulated industry and the need for stronger protections. With growing evidence and a clear path to the people behind the crime, law enforcement launched an urgent search for the kitten's former owners. The pressure to find and arrest them increased as investigators uncovered more about their deep involvement in the breeding scheme. Both the kitten's safety and the fight for justice depended on the outcome, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on those chasing the suspects, all determined to bring them in. As authorities got closer to capturing the kitten's former owners, the question of its future remained uncertain. Would it remain safe from further harm, or get caught up in the legal fight ahead? The kitten, with its rare condition and quiet strength, had become a symbol of hope. But what lay ahead still hung in the balance. Everyone who had grown attached to the kitten couldn't help but worry about what might come next. While the legal case played out, the kitten began to settle into its new life with Jack. The bond between them grew stronger with every day. What was once just a safe stop during the chaos of the fire had become a permanent, peaceful home for the extraordinary animal. It was proof of the kitten's resilience and Jack's steady, compassionate heart. Amid all the court proceedings, Jack found moments to reflect. He often thought about how fate had brought the kitten into his life. It had been a journey marked by danger, heartbreak, and hope, one that neither of them would ever forget. The ordeal had changed Jack, lighting a fire in him for animal welfare and a strong resolve to make sure no other creature suffered the way this kitten had. His journey, from firefighter to advocate, marked a deeply personal transformation. Then the news broke, bringing both closure and justice. The fugitive owners, driven by greed and a cruel disregard for animal life, had finally been arrested. The law had caught up with them, and justice was now within reach. The kitten's rescue had sparked a chain of events that didn't just save its life. It became a powerful reminder of why protecting animals from harm and exploitation matters so much. The arrest was a victory for justice and a symbol of hope for animals everywhere. As the investigation wrapped up, the last pieces of the puzzle came together. Authorities uncovered a full network of people involved in the illegal breeding operation, exposing the extent of the cruelty and abuse that had taken place. With every new detail, the case against the former owners grew stronger, and the path to full justice became clearer. The tireless work of investigators and animal advocates pushed the truth to the surface, highlighting the importance of holding wrongdoers accountable. That long-awaited moment of closure was just around the corner as the legal proceedings neared their conclusion. For both Jack and the cat, it marked the end of a long, difficult chapter filled with unknowns. Their journey had been one of strength and care, and now they looked ahead, hopeful for a future free from the shadows of fear and exploitation. The road to this moment hadn't been easy, but it brought with it a sense of peace and promise. With the court battle behind them, the kitten's new life truly began. No longer a victim or symbol of wrongdoing, it had become a beacon of hope, an inspiration to anyone fighting for animals in need. Jack's home was now the cat's forever haven, a place where it could grow, heal, and be loved just as it was. Its story stood as proof of how powerful compassion and resilience could be. For everyone who had followed the journey, it was a shining reminder of what kindness could achieve. Jack's role in the kitten's rescue had reshaped his life. In his firehouse, he was already seen as a hero. But now he had also become a voice for animals everywhere. His experience showed how one act of care could change a life. His story encouraged others to take action too, and his empathy became a force for good in the world. His transformation was a reminder of the lasting power of kindness. As time passed, the kitten's story became a heartwarming tale, told again and again, one about second chances, courage, and love. What was once seen as a rare and exploited genetic trait had become a symbol of strength in the face of hardship. The cat's incredible journey proved that even after cruelty, healing is possible. Its legacy lived on, inspiring everyone who believed in protecting animals, a lasting tribute to a small, extraordinary feline with an unbreakable spirit.